Hey, welcome back to the MRO Americas 2022 here in Dallas. It's Mark Schultz with DigitalAircraft, and I have an amazing opportunity right now to talk to the guys from GE Aviation Services and ProvenAir. And the reason I wanted to bring them to you is because you're going to see that they're doing some really interesting things in the area of digital and digital transformation being applied to the aviation industry. And so, actually GE Aviation Services is a pretty broad organization, and we're going to drill it down into a couple of specific areas. And so you're not going to want to miss this. Hang with us. You're going to want to see this. Let me introduce these guys to you. Hey, could you first start off by telling us who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, thanks. Joel Kloster. I lead our product and strategy for GE's digital aviation software business.
Perfect. Thank you. And then over here?
My name is Jim Baccarosa. I am the CEO of ProvenAir Technologies, and we've invented the technology that automates your back-to-birth trace process.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that in more detail, but what I want to start out with, I usually like to do is start out with the industry challenges that we're faced with. And businesses, if we're successful, we respond to those challenges is what we do, right? So maybe, Joel, let me start out with you and say, sure. In the space of what we were just talking about, what are the industry challenges that we're seeing, in your area right now?
Yeah. So GE's digital aviation software business, we've got a broad range of software solutions, but the one that we're going to talk about specifically today is our asset records portfolio. That's really taking a lot of the historically paper information, all of the configuration history, maintenance history from an aircraft, and digitizing that. Once it's digitized, there's all kinds of things that you can do with that information. Today, we just have to have a lot of human-in-the-loop analysis on that. And we've got really talented people that are constantly sifting through just boxes and boxes of paper, looking through things to understand compliance to airworthiness directives and service bulletins, errors in the maintenance history that they need to go and trace down, the compliance and maintenance history when it comes back from a shop visit or transferring back and forth between lessors. That's just a lot of time that humans are spending looking through paper records when they're not doing other really high value things for the operator. So these are smart people that are taking a lot of their time out of their day just looking through paper. And once that information is digitized, there's a lot of really interesting things that you can do on top of that you're just not going to have time to do from a human perspective.
Yeah, we all know that we want to go, more paperless. And I've traveled all around the world and I see paper everywhere.
Yeah.
So let's drill this down to maybe the next level here. I want to ask you this: for the people watching, who would typically be one of your customers, right? Let me pause by saying real quick, if you've been in the industry for a long time, when you think GE, you think engines, okay?
Sure.
But, GE is much more than just engines today, okay? Much more.
Yeah.
And so who would be the typical customer for what you're talking about right
now? So we're in the digital part of GE, and we specifically serve the aviation space. The three main customers that we're going to work with: operators, the aircraft operators, airlines, cargo carriers, historically been a big part of our market. We also are now branching out into the MRO space, serving MRO shops, and then also lessors that lease the aircraft, lease the engines, find a new market for the aircraft after the initial lease term, and provide services to them, software, digital solutions to help them manage that whole process more effectively.
And so if I'm one of those three, and if I have records that I have to keep track of course, like accomplishment records or history records, on airframes and components, and we're either performing work and things, I'm looking at using a product like what you have, right?
Right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, great,
yeah.
Good. Well, I want to shift over for a minute and talk a little bit about ProvenAir, all right? Now, I met Jim Baccarosa, a year or two ago, maybe, I'm not really sure.
And COVID makes time fly, so we never know, right?
Really know. And I saw a product, and I immediately saw something interesting there, because what he was doing is he was taking records and he was actually automating the process of determining the validity of those records or the back-to-birth traceability. Now, I'd like for you just for a minute to tell people a little bit about what you're doing and what makes it unique.
Okay. So, once again, thanks, Mark. You were one of the first believers in digital aircraft.
I was.
We're glad to participate today. But what really ProvenAir is doing is, like you said, we're solving the issue of building the provenance for these life-limited parts. It's typically a very, like Joel mentioned, very manual process. When you introduce manual processes to a very complicated issue of tracing LLPs for engines, landing gear, APUs, you introduce human error, okay? And so ProvenAir, what it does is we digitize those records Then we analyze them and we dynamically build a back-to-birth trace history of those LLPs. And what ProvenAir does is inside of our algorithm, we specifically identify where there are gaps in that full traceability, either missing documents, cycle gaps, typos and serial numbers, you name it. And now, going back to what Joel was saying, we'll allow those analysts to not do the mundane, does number A, does match this number A, are these cycles there? They can go to more value-added activities because ProvenAir does all the heavy lifting for them and builds that dynamic trace timeline, and they can quickly see that and then go to remediate those issues. And that's what brings the entire quality of the system higher.
Now, Jim, I have to bring this up to you. So, you know, I'm a big fan of yours, okay? I'm a big fan of your product. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of yours, Jim.
Well,
I'm a fan of your product,
I mean, the Bears and okay.
But I had lunch today, just an hour ago, with somebody, and I sat down, and you know, I'm very respectful to people, you know, but I asked him a question. He was telling me about their business, and what they do is they scrap aircraft, they pull off parts, and then they basically resell them. Okay. And I asked him. I said, does that include like life limited parts and things like that? And he says, well, of course it does. You know. And I said, well, how do you go about determining, you know, the back to birth records of them? And I said, how accurate are they? And he says they're always accurate because we're getting them from, you know, large operators, and they have accurate records all the time. And I said, I'm not really sure that I see that all the time. I want to get your reaction to that statement.
Oh,
okay?
I think you know my statistic.
I know.
So that's it. I love it. They are not accurate. I don't know who this is, but I will tell you they're not accurate because we have 3,500 sets of landing gear in our system at this point.
Yeah.
And I know you know the answer, so I'm going to let you guess. How many of those sets of landing gear had perfect back-to-birth trace the first time we ingested them?
If I know the answer, you should ask Joel.
Oh, well, Joel, you'll know.
I know the answer, too.
He knows the answer, too.
Zero.
Yeah, zero is the correct answer. So I am 3,500 and 0 in our algorithm identifying those gaps.
And so, you know, no disrespect to the person that I spoke with. It's just that I think that people make an assumption that, you know, we're operating, you know, aircraft, and we all have a regulatory requirement to have high quality, and we have to ensure that we're operating with safety. And so we have to maintain accurate records.
That's correct.
But we are human beings, and systems don't have accuracy. And the end result is that there's not the accuracy that people are looking for.
That's correct. And you mentioned a great point there, is it's about safety as well. Now, many of these processes which have a lot of human interaction, which makes it error prone, right? Maybe it's just a typo, a 1 and a 2 mixed up in a serial number. That's probably not a safety issue. It becomes a safety issue when that typo became, I think there's 23,000 cycles on this life-limited part, but there's really 32,000 cycles.
Okay.
All of a sudden, that does become a very difficult safety issue when that part was not designed to handle that much life. That's why it's called life limited. It's for the safety of the aircraft. And if we're not digitizing those records and we're not applying an advanced algorithm to find those things, we are now compromising the safety in the entire system based on humans going through thousands of pages of mundane activity. Yeah, and that's a problem.
And all I can say for those of you watching is that when I saw this product, you know, about a year or a year and a half ago, I immediately could see that it was something that was needed in the industry, not only from an efficiency standpoint, but from an accuracy standpoint. Okay, and so I really think that's why, you know, one of the reasons why, you know, you guys have been really successful. Now, why are we standing next to GE Aviation right now?
Well, I will tell you that GE Aviation and ProvenAir signed a global partnership agreement back in November, and Joel was very instrumental in that. And I will have to say that the GE software team is some of the best in the industry, led by Andrew Coleman. Roberto, Nate are excellent. And so we've enjoyed working with them. And then today we are announcing and showing the folks here at the GE booth our integration with one of their products, which is their ATS system. And so, Joel, I don't know if you want to talk about that.
No, ATS is our asset transfer system. That's the system that uses those digital records to help streamline and manage the transition of assets, either from an MRO to an operator to a lessor or back. And, you know, to us, you know, Jim mentioned the global partnership that we signed back in November last year. And since then, we've continued working. Just from GE's perspective, we're just about creating more value for our customers. If this is something that's of value to our customers and we can integrate disparate solutions to make it easier for them to get that value and to use these systems, that's really what we're all about.
Yeah, Joel, tell me, what does it mean if you say that you have a partnership with somebody? How does that fit together?
Yeah, so an airline that is an existing user of our asset transfer system or wants to use our asset transfer system can just sign a single agreement with GE and then get the back-to-birth traceability capability that ProvenAir uses, either separately directly from ProvenAir or just a jump out directly from our ATS system, using our ATS system and seamlessly flowing that directly into the back-to-birth process as they need to for a given asset, whether it's the ProvenAir team's got a lot of experience with the landing gear. We obviously have a lot of experience with engines, and so expanding that from landing gear to engines to APUs, all of those life-limited parts.
Landing gear, engines, APUs, all those LLPs.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Hey, listen, let me ask you this. Is that when people are looking at records and electronic records and going into systems, I know there's choices out there, okay?
Yeah.
I can think of some of them. But why would someone choose, the product that you're talking about over some other product? What's the difference?
Yeah, I mean, we've invested. This is a product that we acquired into the GE portfolio back in 2017, an Air Vault acquisition that we made. And since then, we've been doing a lot of investment with new user interfaces and experiences, modernizing it on Microsoft Azure technology stack. We're able to use all of the cognitive tools that Microsoft Azure has with handwriting recognition, foreign character recognition, a lot of the advanced analytics, machine learning, and just the relationship that we bring to customers. We're going to be there by your side. We're not just selling you a solution. We're your partner in this digital journey. And that's really what we pride ourselves on.
And so for those of you that are watching, you obviously, if you've been in the industry for a long time, have heard the word Air Vault before, okay? And that was an acquisition that occurred, and that was brought in, and what you just said, it was brought in to be part of the GE Aviation products, and then enhanced and made better, and then you're doing things like creating partnerships with, ProvenAir. And so I just see this as really an amazing product that's really growing to meet a real demand in the industry for us to go paperless with a high degree of safety and accuracy. I mean, that's really part of it.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Jim, let me just ask you this: is that I don't think there's competitors in your product out there today. If there's, I don't know of any right now. So I was going to ask you, what's your unique selling point? And you can say, well, I'm the only one.
Yeah. Well, I always like to say, there will be more, right?
Yeah.
I think we really came up with the concept first because when you think about how do you bring innovation into a market, in this scenario, you have to have disparate skill sets. Okay, so my wife runs a company called Airspares Unlimited. They focus on landing gear.
Right.
Okay, and so when I started working with her, she showed me the problem with back-to-birth trace. Yeah. They were doing it by hand.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is crazy. I come from the technology world. So I've been running tech startups for about 17 years in the B2B world, so business to business, and that's there on that B2B, so B2B, right? And I looked at this and I said, that is a problem. We are going to build a company to solve that. Yeah. And so, when you think about the Venn diagram of the skill sets you need to bring innovation to the market, one, you have to have a deep understanding of the problem, which I learned from working with my wife in the Airspares Unlimited teams, learned about trace, learned about landing gear, but you also have to have a deep understanding of building enterprise level technology, right? Which I brought, and that Venn diagram overlap, it's a very small percentage in the universe. That's why you don't see that many solutions out there, right? In the aviation space, you've got brilliant people who know parts, who know engineering, but they don't know software, right? Fans, we have fans everywhere. You also have great software people that know enterprise level software, but they don't know parts. It takes the combination. Yeah. And that's what really makes us unique and why we're able to.
Well, I can see that immediately. When I saw that, when we first saw the product, I could see that immediately. Right. Well, gentlemen, listen, I really appreciate you taking time to explain all this to us, because I really think you have a sector of the market and a niche product, which, both GE Aviation Services and ProvenAir brings to the table. And together, your synergies are going to continue to grow and expand beyond that. And I think that you're really providing valuable services and capabilities to the industry. And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks,
Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
And listen, everybody, thanks for watching. We have a couple more interviews today, and then tomorrow we have a few more. So I hope you've enjoyed learning about different things in the industry, the challenges and how they're being solved by different products and services. And I thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on our next video. Thanks. Goodbye.